Welcome. Let's take a look at our top story. Finance ministers and central bankers from the world's 20 largest economies agreed to develop an action plan to respond to a coronavirus pandemic. This comes after the IMF and the World Bank both forecast the pandemic would trigger a global recession in 2020. The G20 Secretariat issued the statement after the finance officials met by video conference for nearly 2 hours. This comes after growing criticism that the world's fire station has been slow to respond to the worsening crisis. G20 now faces pressure to take coordinated action against the pandemic that has jolted markets and stoked fears of a global recession. The summit, called by this year's chair, Saudi Arabia, is also complicated by an oil price war between two members, Saudi Arabia and Russia. Saudi Arabia, which chairs this year's G20, has announced a plan to hold an extraordinary virtual leaders summit this week. Now, this is to put forward a coordinated set of policies to protect people and safeguard the global economy. According to experts, compared with the smaller, tight-knit G7 group of advanced economies, the G20 consists of big emerging nations like China that makes it harder to reach a consensus on quick-moving crisis.
I will be very brief because we have other issues on our...
The U.S. economy is going through a crisis that is reminiscent of the 2008 recession. To infuse much-needed liquidity, the Federal Reserve has announced a number of unprecedented measures, much to the delight of Donald Trump. Now, the Fed has decided to buy at least $500 billion worth of Treasury debt and $200 billion worth of mortgage-backed debt. The Fed has revived measures that were last used during the crash of 2008. A program of direct lending to small and medium businesses is also in the works. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin is expecting the Fed's intervention to infuse at least $4 trillion into the economy. Experts say this intervention will dwarf the measures adopted in 2008. The president was rather impressed by the Fed's announcements. He even went on record to praise the Fed chairman Jerome Powell. Trump also sounded upbeat about the dollar, which has remained strong despite the economic downturn. This is highly unusual in the United States, since American presidents refrain from talking about the dollar's value as a matter of principle.
Not very affected at all. But we consider it.